We'll get started. Thank you everyone who took the time to join me today. I certainly do appreciate it. I'm glad that you were able to be here today. So we are going to do our office hours today. My name is Taylor Craig. I am the Learning Platform Specialist here at Kineo, and my job entails working with all of our existing clients, potential clients, and all of those great people out there who want to know more about Totara. I am the Totara trainer here at Kineo, and if I don't know the answer to your question, I bet I probably know someone who does. Let's talk a little bit about what office hours are. Office hours is a limited offering that we offer only to our clients. And the way this works is we have a 15-minute feature presentation, and then we have 45 minutes of open floor questions and discussion. So typically our feature presentation is about 15 minutes. Sometimes it can go 15 to 20. It just depends on the topic of the day. And then we like to open the floor up to you for any questions. If I can't address the question, I will definitely follow back up with you on those particular questions. So we'll make sure that you are aware of the format. So today what we're going to talk about is we're going to be talking about the quiz module. The quiz module is going to be something that is core to CORE Totara, and it's utilized regularly. However, I don't know that people are aware of how many different types of quizzes are all rolled into that one quiz type. There's actually 6 different quiz types, 7 if you're getting real tricky, and there's lots of different configurations that you can do. This is all completely and totally core. This is no customizations. This is straight out of the box Totara. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at the different quiz types that are available out there for you. We'll briefly kind of discuss why you might use one over the other. As I'm going through them and showing them to you, we'll talk about why you would use them. And we'll see what exactly these things look like. So to know a little bit more about the different types, deferred feedback. I'm not going to read this slide to you, I'm just going to kind of talk about different things on these. Deferred feedback, this is your standard quiz that everybody knows and loves. They answer the questions, they don't know the answers to the questions or the responses with feedback until the very end. Once they hit submit, then they're going to see that information. We also have adaptive mode. Adaptive mode is pretty cool in that it allows them to have multiple attempts on the question. So I get to attempt the question and then push the check button, and it's going to tell me whether or not I got it correct at that point, and it's going to allow me to try again. So I can continue to try again. We also have adaptive mode, no penalties. So on the regular adaptive mode, it's actually going to count off a little bit every time they get it wrong. So if I check it and I get it wrong, it's going to count off some points. I check it again and I'm still wrong, it's going to count off some points. So that's what your regular adaptive mode is going to do. Adaptive mode, no penalties. That simply allows me to keep trying until I get the right answer. Okay. We also have interactive with multiple tries. Guys, I'll also send this PowerPoint, or I'll attach it to the recording, so you'll have these descriptions out there. I'm also going to provide to you in the recording link quite a bit of documentation or links to documentation out there in case you're interested in those pieces of the puzzle. So interactive with multiple tries, this is really cool in that it allows my learners to check their answer, and it allows me to give them a hint. So if they're just continuing to miss it, it's going to, as many hints as I enter in for that question, it's going to provide a hint to those learners. So one of the really neat things that you can do with that, with interactive. We also have what we call immediate feedback. Immediate feedback is exactly what it sounds like. I answer the question, I push check, I immediately know if I got it right, wrong, and I get my feedback immediately. So I see everything right there at the same time. We also have deferred feedback and immediate feedback. I didn't put the other immediate feedback, but both of these have the ability to have what we call CBM. CBM is called certainty-based marking. It's pretty intense, and I'm going to provide some documentation on CBM because your learners can actually score like a -600 using CBM. So it's really cool and really neat, but something to be aware of. Your user's average, if you're counting scores there, can really be impacted by CBN. So let's take a look at actually what these look like. So I'm going to go in as a learner. So I'm in here as Michael Adams, and we're just going to kind of go through each of these so that you can see them in action and see how they all work. So here we have our quiz with our deferred feedback. Again, deferred feedback is going to be your plain Jane quiz that everybody knows and loves. We're going to attempt the quiz now. So there's lots of different question types, guys, so that you're aware of that as well. I'm just doing 2 very quick short questions. So in this case, I'm going to choose dynamic and set, and we're going to say 3 types of audiences. I don't believe that. There's only 2, so I'm going to say false and say next. So at this point, I didn't get any kind of information. I didn't get any feedback. I have no idea if I've got them right or wrong. And I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to submit all and finish. It's going to ask me if I'm sure. I'm going to confirm that. Now I'm getting all of my feedback. So now I see that I got a 100. It took me 34 seconds. I see how many points per question I received. Guys, I've got 50 points on these questions because I only have 2, and it's adding up to a 100. And I'm using some pretty dramatic numbers here so that you're going to be able to see those numbers change based on the quiz type we're using. So here it's giving me the correct answer. It's giving me also some feedback here. That was a tricky question, right? So it's giving me some information here. And this is how your deferred feedback is going to work. Again, that is something that you're probably familiar with as far as how that works. And that may be the quiz that you've used before. Let's take a look at the adaptive mode. This is going to be a little bit different. We're going to look at regular adaptive without penalties. And we're going to attempt the quiz. Same exact questions, but we're going to for sure get this wrong so that we can see what happens. So guys, I want you to watch this box over here. It's not incredibly obvious, but the functionality is there, so I want to make you aware of that. So watch this box over here. I have a check button. I didn't have this button earlier. So I'm going to check it. So immediately I'm being told, nope, you got that wrong. And it's also telling me you have correctly selected 0 and that I got the question incorrect. And it's also showing me I got 0 of 50 points. And it's giving me an attracted penalty. So I got a penalty of 16.67 points on this. So what I'm going to do, and what that means is that I can try again, but I'm still going to lose 16.67 points, even if I get it right the next time. So I'm going to come back in here. I'm going to say, oh, okay, well, I'm going to try this again. I'm going to do dynamic and set because that's correct. So I'm going to check it. Now I got 33.33 points on that one. Notice how it kept those other points off of there because I had tried it once, and so it took them away from me. Okay, so that's basically what it's going to do. It's going to allow you to keep trying until you get the right answer, but it is going to count. You're going to lose points. When you're talking in terms of like a true-false question, so we're going to miss this on purpose. In this case, I only had one answer to pick, so it gave me a penalty of 50 points because I got it wrong. And in this case, it's not like I have 4 different questions that I can choose for, 4 different answers I can choose from. I obviously know the answer is false now. So I'm not going to get the points at all because of the type of question it is, okay, because it's a true-false. So you'll see here I got 0 out of the 50 points, okay. So that's going to be how your adaptive mode is going to function. Your adaptive with no penalties, it functions exactly the same, but it doesn't count off those points. So it just allows you to keep trying. For the sake of time, we're going to skim over that one since it doesn't have penalties and it works exactly the same. We're going to jump into the interactive mode. Interactive mode, this is the one that's going to give me hints. So I'm going to click on Quiz Interactive, and I'm going to attempt this quiz. And on this one, I'm also going to get the answer intentionally wrong. So we're going to say flex and standard, and we're going to check it. Okay, so this is giving me a little bit more information. It's telling me I'm incorrect. It says that I have 0 correct answers, but I get a hint. Audiences can be manually configured, or they can be configured by dynamic elements of users and their profile information. Okay, so I'm going to try again now that I have this hint. And the hint actually gave me one of the answers, so I'm going to say dynamic, and I'm still going to stick with standard. I think that's still good. So I'm going to check it. Okay, it's still telling me it's partially correct. So you have correctly selected one. Some audiences are dynamically different, others are set in their ways. Okay, so I'm going to try this again. Okay, so it gave me the answer there, and I'm going to check. Okay, it is now telling me it's correct. You're going to notice up here I didn't get full credit for it because I tried it multiple times. So it's doing kind of like that adaptive mode as well, where it's counting off points as I go. You do have the ability in those settings to say how much it counts off every time the learner misses it. So if you wanted to count off substantially more or quite a bit less, you can make that adjustment at the question level. So you do have control over that. So looking at these types, looking at this one where it's giving hints, looking at the other where it's counting off as the learner's going, what would be the purpose behind using those types? I've had several clients who like to use those different types of quiz questions or quiz types as a method to allow their learners to practice. So they may have an actual big final exam that they need to be able to really do well on and answer all the questions. So they allow them to have a practice exam, and they give them this type of feedback as a studying method. And what you can do is if you don't want it to count towards their final score, you can set the score not to count in the grade book. So there's ways around it, and there's ways to do those types of things, but a lot of times we see these used for practice exams as well. Other people just have specific use cases where they need to allow their learners to check that. We worked with one client actually where they did have a very specific use case where people needed to keep trying until they just got the correct answer. So they would have used adaptive with no penalties so that their learners could get all of the right answers but still had to go through it. So we did actually have a specific use case there. So in this case, it's telling me I'm incorrect. There's only 2 types of audiences, set and dynamic. The reason it did that is because, again, it's a true-false question, and the answer is either true or it's false. So it's giving me that type of response. Okay? So we can submit all and finish, submit all and finish. You'll notice that the summary is a little bit different as well. It's going to show me how long it took me to take this, and it's going to show me my score as well. And it's also going to show feedback. I have the ability to show all questions on one page if I would like to, so that I don't have to page through it. And I'm able to see where I messed up on my exam. Okay? We're going to finish that review and jump back into the course. We're going to take a look at immediate feedback. It is exactly what you might expect it to look like, but it's going to function a little bit differently from your adaptive mode and your what we just looked at, in the fact that what it's going to do is when I check these and I click the check button, it's going to immediately tell me if I got it right or wrong, but I can't try it again. So I don't have any additional attempts. So I just immediately know I'm either doing really well or I'm doing really terrible in this exam. So it gives you those options. So let's take a look at our next one, and we'll get it right for once. We'll check that. Again, it's going to tell me if I got it correct or incorrect, but I don't have the ability to try again. So that's going to be your biggest distinct difference. It's also going to show you points per question, just like we saw earlier. One thing to note about the quiz is you can jump back into the quiz to review it in this way, so you can come back and see it through that navigation method as well. Okay. We're going to go ahead and submit it. And again, we see our feedback the same way. So you're probably catching on that most everything is very much the same, but how those questions behave is very different. So you have all of your different question behaviors, which is basically what we're taking a look at here. So let's take a look at the certainty-based marking. I had readjusted the points on this because I did have it as 50 points and 50 points per question. I readjusted to 1 and 1 just so we don't see such dramatic numbers because with the 50 points, with each of them being worth 50 points, I literally scored a negative 600 as a learner. So it's very possible to do that. This is some pretty intense calculation going into how this functions. So like I said, I'll gladly provide you with some additional documentation if you'd like to see that and really dig into it and get to know it and get familiar with it. This is a really, really cool way to allow your learners to practice and really check their knowledge. So if I go in here and I say flex and standard, we know that's incorrect from our other tests, but we're going to come in here, we're going to rate our certainty. So I could say that I'm unsure about this, I'm less than 67% sure, I'm sort of sure, or I'm quite certain that that's the correct answer. So if I'm very arrogant and think I'm correct, I can say, yep, I'm absolutely sure here. And I can say next. Now this is the deferred feedback with CBM. You do have immediate feedback with CBM as well. You also have that option. So we'll say 3 types of audiences. I'm going to pretend like I think that's the correct answer, and I'm going to say I'm pretty sure I'm right. I'm actually very wrong, but let's see what happens to my score. So I'm going to submit all and finish. And we see what happens here. I did end up with a negative score, actually, which was actually a negative 600%. Everything inside of the quiz module actually totals out into a percentage, so that's where that 600% is coming from. So we've got negative 12 out of 2 total points that I could have received. The whole quiz was worth 2 points total. So it's going to show me my average mark, my accuracy, my certainty-based bonus, my accuracy plus bonus points there, and we've got our breakdown. So it's actually telling me that I was overconfident using that certainty level. It's letting me know that maybe I shouldn't have been quite so confident. Okay. So, and then it's going to also show me the correct answer. It's going to show me what I scored and what I marked it as. Same goes for here as well. Okay, so some really, really cool features there, guys, that I'm not sure everybody is aware of and don't realize that it's available. Let's take a quick look from an admin's perspective or a trainer, anybody who has editing rights in a course, so that you're aware of where these would be located and where you can make these adjustments. So if you're interested in playing with any of these and getting to know them, what you do is you would add an activity or resource, you would throw in a quiz. I already have a quiz, so we're just going to edit the settings. But inside of the settings of that quiz is where you're going to make your adjustment. It's going to be underneath question behavior. And here are all of your different types. Adaptive mode no penalties, deferred feedback, deferred with CBM, immediate with CBM, as well as your interactive. So we've got several different methods here, and one that I also didn't speak about inside of our question behavior is this one. Each attempt builds on the last. So you also have the ability to build on your attempts by selecting this option, and that's another option that will allow your learners to attempt a question, and it's going to keep their attempt. So if I came in and I said that the answer is A and B, and then I hit check, if I got it incorrect, it's going to tell me I got it incorrect, but it's going to keep my check marks in A and B. Okay, so that's what that particular one's going to do. So really, you could have a few extra other options as well with your quiz types. All right, guys. So other than that, those are our different quiz types available. Do you guys have any questions for me? I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.